What would you say are the top 3 ways, the best ways to multiply money then?
Get rid of it. You got to get rid of it. At some point, you got to quit being a saver. You got to start being an investor.
Debt is money. Please understand me. In 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money became debt. So the rich know how to use debt to get rich. And that's what I do. And other guys will tell you, get out of debt. You choose.
You can become anything you want to become, but you're gonna have to pay a heavy price to get there. So the question is, what is it that you want to do? Most of you aren't gonna know the answer to that. So you're gonna go explore.
Don't try to do what everybody else is doing. If you do what everybody else is doing, it's going to be a lot more challenging.
We want our shareholders to walk in the shoes, our directors to walk in the shoes of shareholders. We want them to care a lot about the business, and we want to be smart enough so that they know enough about business that they know what they should get involved in and what they shouldn't get involved in.
Fastest way to get to where you want to be, find someone that's already there and ask them for help. You would be amazed how many older, successful people want to help.
If you're not always learning, to this minute, if I'm not continuously learning, if I'm not just absorbing as much as I can absorb, someone else is going to kick me.
It's better to start earlier on in life. The earlier you figure it out, the better off you are. But it can happen later in life.
You're not going to get $823,000 a year at a job. There's no job that's going to hire you and pay you $823 without you having to go back to college and spend time and invest money.
And what's happening for most people today is, they follow that age-old mantra, go to school. What do you learn about money in school? Nothing. Get a job. Well, jobs are disappearing. Not only that, is that with artificial intelligence and G5 coming, more jobs are going to get wiped out. Plus, with driverless cars, more jobs are getting wiped out. So why would you go to school to get a job and then work hard for money, but pay taxes?
What are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's $1 billion opportunity. The crazy part about business, you only need one hit. That's it. Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, all these people really just did one thing. But I've worked directly for Zuckerberg, Dustin Moskovitz, Matt Kohler, these are all billionaires. Sean Parker, been around Peter Thiel a little bit. I think the 2 biggest kind of surprises, 2 or 3 of them, one, they didn't set out to become a billionaire. They just really cared about a problem. Now, the second part of that, most of them didn't get to become a billionaire or super rich for 20 years. And recognizing that and being like, okay, cool. If I can be patient and focus on longevity, I can become a millionaire, multimillionaire, maybe billionaire or beyond. Things that's common, especially for employees, is thinking that they can't escape being an employee. It does take time, patience, and belief, dream, fantasy. And through that you can create the reality. I've done a lot of things, man. I've been swinging for a long time, and that's something that's available to everyone. And I do think that's missed out on, that there's a lot of ordinary people being rich and being successful, and people think it's an exclusive club, and that's just not true. I tried 24 different businesses to finally get to AppSumo, to finally eventually get rich. Think about in your own life and your own businesses, like what is the thing you're looking forward to and excited about? And it can even be small. Like one of my phrases I like is put it on the calendar. What's on the calendar? What are you looking forward to? Of what you're excited about. And then the reality is that you can actually get going towards that dream sooner than you realize. Everyone should be an entrepreneur, everyone, because if you get fired today, what's your backup plan? Go on Indeed.com and pray. Like having an entrepreneurship where you can have your own business, and if you start it right now, not how, you just get started. And that a lot of what we cover that is exactly $1 million weekend. You could do it in a weekend, which everyone has. They can change their life in 48 hours. You have the option. I know a lot of people, let's take AppSumo.com. We have a lot of people who have very successful side businesses and they're happy with their day jobs, and that's great. But I think people don't swing enough. They don't even get started swinging, and that's, they're not ready on the sidelines. And there's never a good time. The best time is right now. It's not yesterday because that passed. It's not tomorrow because you don't know. It's right now. There's 3,100 billionaires on the planet, which is not that many. So if you want to meet one and learn from one, that's a really great cheat code of life. And they're accessible. And so taking a step back around interviewing billionaires on our YouTube channel, and then myself running almost $100 million a year business at AppSumo.com, it's the power of asking is the most powerful thing that no one is really improving on or really getting started on. And that's available. There's no exclusivity on it. the upside of asking is unlimited and the downside is a moment of discomfort. The second thing with this YouTube channel from interviewing billionaires and millionaires is that there's so many different ways of getting rich. I thought that everyone else you can only get rich on the computer and on these worldwide webs. I didn't know how to do it, but I thought that was the only way. And so through the YouTube channel, it's been so powerful and so special. There's Larry Janeski. He's making $600 million a year on basements. You have this lady, Jan, which I guess it's kind of funny. Her name is Jan. She does jam. She got rich selling strawberries. There's Michael Hudner who did ships. There's Rafa and James who did energy trading. Right? There's such a phenomenal variety of people that are getting rich outside of just computers. And I think that's so exciting to think about, hey, what is the area that I really like? Is it cooking? Is it doing landscaping? Is it computers? And the ability in that to create a lifestyle and a lot of money around areas that we're interested in. You hear all these, like, I'd say fake entrepreneurs or fake coaches. They don't actually have any real businesses. They're like, you got a 10x today and you got a 5x. If you're not 5xing, you're failing. And I was like, I've done that, but it's also interesting. What if our goals now for AppSumo.com is to grow 10% next year? And it's been that for quite a lot of time. And the reality is when you set less ambitious goals for yourself, you can stick with them for longer because you're not burnt out, you're not tired, you can sustain. And then by having less ambitious goals, you also have creative freedom because you're not stressed about hitting a target. And that gives you the ability to create 10x opportunities because you're like, okay, cool, I'm not worried about making money in that, but I can go do things that potentially, be moonshots and really drive the company for the future. There's a lot more smarter people out there than they give themselves credit for. The only difference is that I start. That's the biggest difference. But I would say the success of a founder and success if you want to be an employee CEO within a company is how are you being resourceful? How are you solving the goal and the problems and the priorities with the resources that are available? Most people sit and they complain like, oh, I don't have this. Like there's a lot of people, I'm not getting paid enough. Well, what are you doing about it? Did you put together a proposal? Did you go look at comparison analysis? Did you go create more revenue so it's obvious that people should pay you more? When you're going somewhere in a car, you're like, of course I want a destination. Then why don't we replicate that in business? If you look at all the best CEOs today, the ones that I admire, almost all of them are immigrants. My father's an immigrant, didn't speak English, came to this country. Satya at Microsoft, name these companies. I mean, just most of them. The guy running Google, Sundar, a lot of the ones. I mean, even Elon Musk, who is debatably a great CEO, South Africa. And so what is it with them that we can all learn from? And at AppSumo.com, we have Eamon from Iran, my father's from Israel, Alona's from Uzbekistan, Sean is from London, Vanessa's from Colombia. Like, what is it about immigrants that we can all copy? Because that is what built America was, we all came here from somewhere else. And so the two things that have really struck with me, and I saw this woman who exemplified it, her name was Sharon. And she kicked so much, and she was working basically at the Best Western, serving breakfast. And if you've never been to a Best Western, it should be called the OK Western, right? It sucks. It sucks. But she was working like she was at, the Four Seasons. I could not believe it. She's like bringing me pancakes. She's doing all these things. And she was acting like a founder and an immigrant. I would say she is an immigrant. And I asked her, I said, tell me more. What's really going on? She's like, there's two things. It's my attitude and it's my effort. Because that's in control, that you're totally in control of your attitude. And that's what I look for when I work with people and we hire people at AppSumo.com. And her effort. There's literally no restriction on effort. There's no law. The only law is 24 hours. Besides that, you can work as hard as you want. A lot of my success is just because I'm in the market and the market does well. But I'm curious about these things, number one. So I was curious about social networking and I was like, man, money, I think worldwide it's pretty important. I think there's going to be something, if you have a free money tool, that's going to be big. Same thing then with Facebook games, that was going to be big. Then I did payments for games, that was big. And then I did kind of a Groupon business, which became AppSumo, that was big. Then we built SumoMe.com, that was big, which is a software tool. So ideally, number one, you're curious. Number two, how do you get a part of it today, right now, not how? Don't worry that you don't have a website, don't worry you don't have a big social media presence, but what can you take action on to put yourself in that space? So can you be in a community online? Can you geographically move? Can you start creating in that space? So I think people are curious maybe and they can find it, but they don't necessarily try it and understand it and they don't do anything about it. And I think the biggest thing for everyone out there is, what are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's $1 billion opportunity. Same thing on what you're doing outside, same thing what you're watching on content, and just being a little bit more curious and then taking action around that. I think money is very sensitive and I think we're taught a lot about how to create it. but I definitely think there's much more there as well, how to enjoy it and different things that people enjoy. You know, a lot of the interesting thing about success is that it's always externalized, right? It's like that person is an icon, that thing is successful, they're doing well. And I really think it's like, when do we finally feel like we're doing what we think our potential is? And that is our own icon, our own legendary status. And I would say around 40 is when I finally felt more internal validation, and I stopped focusing on so much of the external validation. Like, how much money do I have? Do I have more than that guy or girl? Did I do the things externally wanting versus like, am I doing really what I want? And am I proud of the hard work that I'm doing for myself? And around 40, I would say I'm really proud of what I've been able to do.
The world does not belong to the pessimists, believe me. You're selling happiness, and it's, you know, and having it at arm's length away is a big part of it. And you know, the distribution system, the development, it's the right formula, and it just has to be carried out with, you know, with extreme diligence, enthusiasm in every minute of the day.
There's an emotional undercurrent in Buffett's journey that we often overlook. One of the most profound lessons from Warren Buffett's life is that he doesn't just acquire businesses. He acquires the stories and experiences that come with them.
I would like to just tell you a couple of short stories, and we'll draw maybe a couple of lessons from them. Two women each sold a business to Berkshire Hathaway, to me actually, for many, many, many millions of dollars. Both of them started with $2,500. And one of them was a woman who landed in Seattle in 1917, couldn't speak a word of English. She felt like a dummy. She couldn't pick up the language. She couldn't learn a word. They came to Omaha in 1919. And then as her oldest daughter went to school, she would come home, this daughter, Frances, and she would teach her mother the words she'd learned in school that day. And this woman, Rose Blumkin, spent 20 years saving money, bringing first her siblings over, her mother and father, $50 at a time. She sold used clothing to do it. She had 4 children during this period. And by 1937, after 20 years, she'd saved $2,500. She went to Chicago and she bought what she could of furniture. Her dream had always been to open a furniture store. But with the same spirit that the people in this room had about having a dream and working to accomplish that dream, she built a business which she sold to me in 1983 for $60 million approximately, and which did $1.5 billion worth of business last year. The 4th generation is working in that business. This woman, Rose Blumkin, she worked for me until she was 103. Then she retired and she died the next year, which is a lesson to all of Berkshire's managers that premature retirement, you know, you can't tell what's going to happen. But Mrs. B, with her $2,500, one further fact about her, she could not read or write. And she didn't bring anything unique in furniture, but she brought a determination to succeed. And I saw one other woman who did a similar thing with $2,500. I paid her hundreds of millions of dollars for her business. Today, I'd like to tell you about one other small business person. This person, I went to buy his business from him, and he turned me down, which was very wise. But this was a fellow who was born about 8 years before I was. He was born in 1922. He was a pretty good athlete, didn't like school much. And I'm going to tell you one thing early in the story, maybe you can figure out who the guy was. The company he built hires more college graduates each year than any other company in the United States. And this fellow, who was destined for this but did not know it, Jack, went to college for a year and then dropped out. He really wasn't that interested in school. And the year he dropped out was 1941. And when the the United States became under attack, he went down to the Army Air Force recruiting station, volunteered, and then he came back to the Midwest. So now we've got a young guy, probably by this time he would be 23 or 24 years old. And he actually kind of went from one job to another for a short period of, or not such a short period of time. And he finally became a used car salesman at a Cadillac dealership in St. Louis, Missouri. And at age 35, having moved up in the organization, the sales organization, he said to his boss, could I go into car leasing business with you? The boss said, well, if you'll cut your salary in half and you'll come up with, I think it was $25,000, which he borrowed, we can become partners in a car leasing company. So my friend Jack started at age 35 in the car leasing business. And he had 7 cars. It was pretty slow. In fact, one of the things he did was whenever the phone rang, he let it ring 3 or 4 times so people would think that he was very busy answering other phones. And of course, it was the only call he was going to get all day. So his first venture was okay, but it wasn't really going to go anyplace. And there's a lesson in this for all of us. At age 40, he decided with 17 vehicles, 17 cars, he was going to go into competition in the rent-a-car. And he's got 17 cars, and his cars aren't any different than theirs. I mean, he's buying them from General Motors or Ford or Chrysler. And he can't get the airport locations. Those companies have them all sold up. But he was determined that he would basically offer the customer, can't offer him a different car, but he can offer them friendlier service than they've ever seen. And so he started a company. He named it after the battleship that he'd flown from in the Pacific, which was the USS Enterprise. And he died about a year and a half ago. But when he died, his rent-a-car company, starting with those 17 cars, was worth more than Hertz and Avis and all the rest of the rental cars put together. The man's name was Jack Taylor, and his son, Andy Taylor, is a good friend of mine, runs the business now. A grandchild is in the business. There'll probably be a 4th generation along the line. So this man in the United States, he didn't invent artificial intelligence. You know, he didn't do anything that, just like Mrs. B selling furniture, I mean, that any one of us could have entered those businesses. But he lived by the creed, basically, of delighting his customers and working with people and establishing the relationship with them so that they in turn would want to delight the customers. He couldn't go out there and take care of every rental car possibility, but he learned how to project himself and his attitude toward his fellow man and his desire, to make a friend out of every customer. He managed to take very ordinary cars and turn them into this extraordinary business from virtually nothing. But at the age of 40, with all of that experience behind him, he found the golden key, and he took a very ordinary business and turned it into an absolutely extraordinary operation. And just like Mrs. B, Rose Bumpkin did with furniture.
Buffett's journey isn't just about balance sheets and profit margins. It's about connecting with the human side of business. It's a lesson in understanding the emotional investment that every business owner has in their creation. In a world driven by cold calculations and cutthroat competition, Buffett's approach offers a ray of hope for every entrepreneur. It's a reminder that behind every business, there's a heart and soul that yearns to leave a mark on the world. Buffett doesn't merely acquire businesses, he becomes a part of their story. It's not just about numbers, it's about the people, the employees, the customers, and the communities that these businesses serve.
The test isn't whether you get the greatest business idea in the world the first time out. The test is whether you keep learning as you go along what your strengths are and what you can do for your customers, what you can bring especially to the party. And to do that, you need the education that I know you've received through 10,000 small businesses, but you need a genuine desire day in, day out to delight the customer.
For entrepreneurs and business owners, this is a powerful lesson. It's a testament to the value of building meaningful relationships in the business world. It's a reminder that success isn't just about what's in your bank account. It's about the impact you have on people's lives. So, as you navigate the world of business, remember this. Your journey isn't just about numbers and profits. It's about the people and the stories that enrich your path. Success isn't just about building wealth. It's about building a legacy and the profound lessons from the hearts of those who've walked the entrepreneurial path. We hope this video inspires you to follow your entrepreneurial dreams. What was your favorite part of the video? Let us know in the comments and make sure to like and subscribe to keep up with our latest videos.
There are almost certainly a lot of things that you're doing that are going to keep you broke.
I've done a lot of things, man. I've been swinging for a long time, and that's something that's available to everyone. And I do think that's missed out on, that there's a lot of ordinary people being rich and being successful, and people think it's an exclusive club. And that's just not true.
There's a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one's ready for a thing until they believe that they can acquire it.
Now you're in a solution-oriented mindset, and people that get wealthy, let me tell you right now, all they think about are solutions. How do I solve this problem? Because if you're wealthy, you must remember you're paid in direct proportion to the difficulty of the problems you solve. And if that's true, you better get very good at solving very difficult problems. And if you have something that's holding you back, like I'm not as smart as a lot of people, and that really pisses me off. But the reality is, pissing and moaning about it is not going to make me any smarter. All I can do is go make the most of what I have.
Entrepreneurs have one thing in common. They keep going. They'll change the rules. They'll reinvent the rules. They don't just take one answer. So a real entrepreneur, it really makes no difference which country you're in. You know what I mean? It's just a mindset. It's F you. You mess with me, I'll find a way around it.
They make no excuses. They take total responsibility for their lives. In fact, many people that fall into that category will take responsibility for things that clearly don't even have anything to do with themselves. People are spending all of their money. Death habit number one, you're spending all of your money on liabilities and not assets. So the key is to understand what an asset is, to understand what a liability is, and to buy appropriately. An asset is something that when you buy, it's going to go up in value and not cost you money, or even pays you money. More money, obviously, than it costs you. If you have a liability, it's the exact opposite. So the classic example of a liability is a car payment. The second you drive a car off the lot, it's going down in value, and with very rare exception, it is never going to go back up. So it's going down in value, and you've got to keep making those payments. So you've got money going out while value is declining. Another one that people often think of as an asset, but is usually a liability, is your own home. Now, the reason that your own home is so frequently a liability is odds are you have a mortgage, odds are it's the most expensive thing in your life, and it's not like you can just get out from under that liability, especially if the bottom falls out. You're going to have property tax depending on where you live, and you're going to have upkeep no matter where you live. So now you're pouring money into this thing, and maybe the value is going up, but maybe not always. And between the property taxes and the upkeep, you may be paying more than the value is going up over time, especially if you account for opportunity cost. So the odds of your house after taxes fees, upkeep, all of that, being a better use of capital, if you're living in it, being a better use of capital than taking that same money and putting it into an index fund or something like that, a diversified portfolio, let's say. The odds of the house returning more on that are very low, unless, obviously, if you get into rental properties and things like that and you're not living in it, so now it can actually generate cash flow, well, then it's just a math equation.
A lot of people are chasing content creation, or they were chasing crypto last week, or they were chasing blogging years ago, and now AI everyone's chasing. And so what I'd recommend for other people out there, and I've been able to do this literally, I've chosen so many $1 trillion markets to be around, and a lot of my success is just because I'm in the market, and the market does well. But I'm curious about these things, number one. So I was curious about social networking, and I was like, oh, that's big. Because I got onto it, and I was able to see, like, wow, you can connect with the entire world, even though there wasn't really the entire world at that point. So curious, same with mint.com. I was like, man, money, I think worldwide it's pretty important. I think there's going to be something, if you have a free money tool, that's going to be big. Same thing then with Facebook games, that was going to be big. Then I did payments for games, that was big. And then I did kind of a Groupon business, which became AppSumo, that was big. Then we built SumoMe.com, that was big, which is a software tool. So ideally, number one, you're curious. So I can talk about my crypto thing, because I think that's kind of an interesting example of it. Number two, how do you get a part of it today, right now, not how? Don't worry that you don't have a website, don't worry you don't have a big social media presence, but what can you take action on to put yourself in that space? So can you be in a community online? Can you geographically move? Can you start creating in that space? So I think people are curious maybe, and they can find it, but they don't necessarily try it and understand it, and they don't do anything about it. So even with crypto, got involved, I heard about it in 2012, didn't do anything, I thought it was stupid. And then in 2016, I had to buy an illegal NFL stream. That's how I got into crypto. And so I bought this illegal NFL stream on a website, seasonsforyou.com, and I saw the power of what this could be. And then I started buying at that point. And that's where it's now become a multi-million-dollar portfolio. And I think the biggest thing for everyone out there is, what are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's $1 billion opportunity. Same thing on what you're doing outside, same thing what you're watching on content, and just being a little bit more curious and then taking action around that. I would say that everyone should be an entrepreneur, everyone, because if you get fired today, what's your backup plan? Go on Indeed.com and pray. Like, having an entrepreneurship where you can have your own business, and if you start it right now, not how, you just get started. And that, a lot of what we cover that is exactly $1 million weekend. You could do it in a weekend, which everyone has. They can change their life in 48 hours. You have the option. I know a lot of people, let's take AppSumo.com. We have a lot of people who have very successful side businesses, and they're happy with their day jobs, and that's great. And there's other people like myself that were always frustrated having a day job. And so I wanted to create work that I didn't have to work at. And I do believe there's a misconception, and something that most people get wrong, is that you can't do what you enjoy or passion or dream about and make a lot of money doing it. I don't believe that.
But when I make $1 million, I keep $1 million. And the reason is because I don't make it by working for money. See, if you work for money, you're taxed. So that's why lesson number one in Rich Dad Poor Dad is the rich don't work for money. What we do instead is we create businesses as entrepreneurs. We acquire real estate. I don't invest in the stock market. Okay? So the reason is because as entrepreneurs, I have more control over my income, how much I make, and how much I pay in taxes. And because I'm an entrepreneur as well as an investor in real estate, I pay zero tax. So every time I make, let's say, $1 million as an entrepreneur, I immediately invested in real estate, and I have a 4-to-1 step up. So I put $1 million in real estate, I get $4 million from the bank. That's why I love banks. But the banks are screwing everybody else, terrible, but it's good for me.
We are all the same. Everywhere in the world. I don't care if you go into China, go into Kosovo, go into Buenos Aires, go into New York. We are all the same. We look different, we sound different, but when you get past the culture, and culture's nothing but group habit, that's exactly what it is. When you get past the culture, we are all the same. There is one mind. There's not millions of minds, there is one. And we are an individualized expression of it. And when we tap into that universal mind, it operates by law. The idea must move into form. That's one of the first laws of the universe, the perpetual transmutation of energy. You understand that winter never follows winter. When the tide goes out, it always comes back in. I got a beautiful Japanese maple just outside my studio at home. Every fall, the leaves fall off that, but every spring they come back. All the great paintings, Rembrandt, Van Gogh, all of them, They were inspired to do the great work. We have to understand that whatever Rembrandt or Van Gogh used, we have available to us. We're God's highest form of creation. Spirit flows to and through us. It's our responsibility to decide what we're going to do with it. I think we've got an obligation to do great work. We're only here for a short time, not a long time. And we've got the faculties and the ability to do great work. I think we should.
Entrepreneur, right? It's one of the most overused nonsense terms out there. I can teach anybody to become an entrepreneur in 2 minutes flat. All you got to do is go to fiverr.com, open an account, and offer to make videos or images for someone. Boom, you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur.
You can become anything you want to become, but you're going to have to pay a heavy price to get there. So the question is, what is it that you want to do? Most of you aren't going to know the answer to that. So you're going to go explore.
Don't try to do what everybody else is doing. If you do what everybody else is doing, it's going to be a lot more challenging. You might have to sacrifice evenings. You might have to spend less time on Instagram or Netflix. You might have less weekend time. If you can dedicate yourself, odds are you're going to be successful.
People that are successful, they can self-soothe, they can stay emotionally calm in the midst of a storm. When everybody else is panicking, they're only looking at solutions. The whole point is to switch you out of problem mode into solution mode.
Negative emotions are trying to teach you something. They're trying to teach you the opposite. Something else is going on.
The thing with excuses is sometimes they're very true. But it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your goal. So are you going to let it sit with you, or are you going to find a way around it?
Are you working in a job where you can earn the money you need to live the life you want while being fulfilled and happy doing the work you do? I think that is the definition. You don't have to be an entrepreneur for that. Many of the people creating the biggest changes in the world are not entrepreneurs. Think about the engineers at NASA. Think about the people who are inventing new technologies. Think about the people who come up with new medicines that are changing lives. Many of these people are working for companies, but they are paid well, they love their jobs, they're making a contribution to humanity, and it is enough if you're that. This idea that you got to be working for yourself is so outdated. Rather, you got to look at 3 things. Number 1, can I exercise what I'm really good at doing? Number 2, do I love what I'm doing? Number 3, am I making money doing this?
And what we're good at together is not being right all the time. It's basically learning from your mistakes. So the physics of progress is you come up with a hypothesis. It should be as informed as possible. You figure out a way to turn that into something you can actually do. So you're going to run a test. Then you actually run that test. And then this is where most people fall down. You have to lower your psychological defenses to stare nakedly at the results. And oftentimes that's going to be, you didn't do something well, you didn't think through this right, you made a mistake somewhere. And then if you're willing to do that and you learn from that, then you can re-inform your hypothesis, make it a little bit better, run that whole system again. And once you get in that loop, then you can really make progress. But yeah, the tenacity it takes to face your inadequacies and continue to try, that's where we've succeeded.
So when Instagram was just getting off the ground, right, in like 2010, you could go and start an Instagram channel on makeup, and maybe you might end up like Huda Beauty, which has like 49 million fans today. But they were one of the early ones. You got to get in early. I think TikTok is still early. So I think there's an opportunity in TikTok. Instagram, I think, is later stage. But there are also other fields which are picking up right now. It's not just about social media. For example, coaching. Coaching is blowing up right now. More and more companies are looking for coaches for their employees.
What would be worse than frustration would be despair, giving up. No hope, but frustration is a sign that you haven't given up. You know you could do something, but you haven't figured it out.
A lot of people's reasoning, which was ours originally when we wanted to make movies, is we don't have enough money. So we're just going to go and do this thing until we have enough money. We don't have enough time. And the truth is, if you play the no BS, what would it actually take? And you say, I don't have enough money. Then you keep going down and go, well, how much money do I need? Okay, what would it take for me to get that money? And sometimes people don't want to look at the answers. So maybe it takes you having to sell your house, move in with your in-laws, and rent one of their bedrooms for the next 3 years in order to save your money so that you can go and start a company. Well, some people don't want to do that. Okay, well, at least now you have your answer and you're not sitting there using the excuse that you don't have enough money. You just looked at it and like, oh, for me to get there, I need to live with my in-laws for 3 years. I don't want to do that. And now you've just decided. And now you're not beating yourself up over, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not there yet. Or like with us with Quest, we didn't leave ourselves any room for excuses, because we just went down that list of, are we giving this over? Are we doing this? Are we actually showing up? And if the answer is no, then how can you expect to reach your goal?
I am completely egalitarian. I believe everybody has that. When I wrote the book Mastery, which is what this book is about, to prove my point that everyone has it, I interviewed contemporary masters. And one of them is the woman Temple Grandin, who was born with high-level autism, right? She was going to be hospitalized for her entire life. When she was 2 or 3 years old, she had the good luck of finding the right teacher who brought her out of her shell. And she eventually became a very respected professor of animal research, right? She's absolutely brilliant, and she also studies autism itself. If somebody with that kind of disability, that kind of thing, everything stacked against her, if she can figure it out and reach mastery, then I certainly believe everybody has that potential. But I know it doesn't come easy. It's a process, and you have to be patient, but you have to put in the work.
Go experiment, go try things. Just like Lisa was saying, go play around, go enjoy yourself, figure out what it is that you like. Nothing is ever going to be self-evident. You're never going to come across something like, this is what I meant to do with the rest of my life. You are going to find something that gives you more energy than it takes. When you find something that when you do it, you're like, ooh, this is fun, and you're actually energized by it, then you're going to go down the path of actually gaining skills in that. The more you engage with that, if that continues to be more fun, now it will become a fascination. Once something becomes a fascination, now we're going to really figure out if we can serve other people with that set of skills. If you can, you've got a hope of turning that into a passion. Passion is about acquiring enough skills at something that other people care about, and you have to care about it first and foremost. But if you care about it and other people care about it, now you get into that reciprocal relationship where, and it could be playing the guitar, it could be playing video games, right? Think about somebody that's just an absolute God tier gamer, but they had to get freakishly good at that. They had to spend a lot of time improving their skill set. So they worked hard to gain a set of skills that allows them to serve not only themselves, but other people. That is the name of the game. The problem is people are expecting something to be self-evident. They are told a lie that they're born with a purpose. You're not born with a purpose. You're going to decide that this passion, this thing that you've worked off to get good at, that allows you to serve not only yourself, but other people, that's now your purpose. So when I was at Quest, my purpose was making sure that people had food that they could choose based on taste, and it happened to be good for them. At Impact Theory, the goal is to give people a growth mindset at scale through story. So I'm just doing entertaining things, but it's designed to help them get that right mindset. That is my purpose. It wasn't my purpose when I was 12 or 20 or even 30. So you're going to decide, and then you're going to do things to reinforce that in your own mind.
There are lots of different opportunities, but you got to try to find these new fields, these new things which are emerging. Now, here's the good news, right? According to futurist Peter Diamandis, between 2022 and 2026, the world will see as much change as between the year 1900 to 2000. In 4 years, starting next month, we're going to see as much change as between the years 1900 to 2000. New technologies, new opportunities, new things are going to emerge. The whole field of Web3 emerging right now. And this means there's going to be so much opportunity for disruption. If you are a traditional company and you're not nimble and you're not on your toes, this is bad news for you. It's literally bad news. There's going to be massive disruption across companies all around the world. But if you're an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, it's good news, because there's going to be so much change and so much opportunity for you to disrupt the established players.
So the mastery is about your high level of skill, right? And to do that, you have to go through an apprenticeship. You have to learn things over and over and over again to truly believe that fulfilling your career ambitions is going to lead to a high sense of fulfillment in your life.
So money doesn't bring you happiness.
It's never made me happy. I don't measure happy.
What do you measure?
I measure accomplishments, I measure targets, I measure, who I'm helping, things that I can actually physically measure. The reality is most of us don't dream big. You got the mindset, are you looking? Are you paying attention? You can do it, bro. You got to give something up. It's not you have to add something, you always have to give something up.
Really?
I've never been able to go from here to there and not give up something. They got me here. If you're gonna go from 0 to a millionaire, when you get to a millionaire, if you wanna go to the next level, you wanna go to 10 million, you will have to give up the millionaire life. That's why I said I gotta hold myself accountable to the goal. If I'm gonna have to keep reselling myself on this goal. People wanna create wealth for themselves, it's not just money, it's people. Not how much money I have. I mean, we all know about the wealthy person that has no friends. He's on a yacht by himself. And that's not wealth, right? It's just a bunch of money and material collections. To me, there's no way to create real wealth by just going inside. You gotta go, I gotta add people. How do you get people to know who you are? I say almost yes to almost everything.
Why do you say yes to everything?
Because it connects me to another person. I need people to get to know who I am.
I'm going to become somebody.
I want to contribute more. I don't think about I want to be more happy. I'm not thinking about joy. I'm not thinking about contentment. I'm thinking about action. I want the action. I want the grind. I want the possibility. I want legacy. I'm trying to figure out how to extend 100 years. How could Grant Cardone still be relevant in 21, 23? Do I want more happiness? Dude, I want more time is what I want. And I want more health.
Would time and health bring you more happiness?
As long as I have people around me that I want to be around. I don't like being around people that don't do stuff. I don't like people that talk about doing something and don't. I don't like being around people that can't pay bills and can't throw in and can't contribute, because I know they can. Most of the people watching right now, everything you have budgeted for in your life, you can pay for. It's the things you didn't budget for, the big dream. But everything else, you got covered. Everything people pay attention to. House note, car note, electric bill, water bill, basics. Everything gets covered. What if you just added a whole bunch of other stuff to the list? What if we were all brought up to say, hey, we're gonna cover all this stuff? People will be even more productive.
What would you say are the top 3 ways, the best ways to multiply money then?
Get rid of it. You gotta get rid of it. First, you gotta make it. I gotta collect it. I gotta collect some. Then I gotta figure out, okay, this pays for this basic living. Everything above that, don't spend any more money. Like the rest of it, if this is $4,000 and I make 7, the entire 3 has gotta go into investments.
Every month?
Every single month. At some point, you gotta quit being a saver, you gotta start being an investor. This is what we should have been taught in school, man. This is what we should have been taught as kids. Like, how do I do money? You do it with time, okay? You don't do it with a job. You're not gonna get $823,000 a year at a job. There's no job that's gonna hire you and pay you $823 without you having to go back to college and spend time and invest money. It just doesn't work like that.
What do you think people in the middle class are doing that they should shift in their mindset in order to start getting out of that?
Well, you don't borrow money to go to college. Why would you trade 5 or 6 or 7 years of the income? Time is money. So I wouldn't go to college. I would never buy a home. I would never put debt on a home. If I bought a home, I wouldn't put debt on it. And these are nevers for me on the come up.
On the come up, yeah.
On the come up.
Once you have the cash.
Dude, once you're wealthy and you want to go buy homes and buy yachts and stuff, go do whatever you want to do. But on the come up, you would never spend your income. You would never spend primary income on improving the quality of your life. You would only invest. And that's what I'm trying to teach my kids. Like Sabrina's, I let her pay all the bills. I've been doing this since she was probably 6. You pay the bill. We don't give them an allowance. I don't think any kid should be given an allowance.
Interesting. Why not?
If they want money, they become an employee of the company. They work for the company. We give them a series of things to do. We pay them once a year. Okay, we give them a big check at the beginning of the year. That money goes into Cardone Capital.
Wow.
And they live off the distributions.
Come on.
Sometimes they'll get a bonus for doing extra stuff.
But they don't get the money.
They never get the money.
It's invested, and they get
that
the
money is
distribution.
invested, they get the distributions. They will create wealth over the next 10 years. But it'll be their own wealth. It's not something I gave them.
Well, if you could only teach your kids 3 lessons about money, what would those lessons be?
People. Number one, meet people. No one's a stranger. The money's a people game. 2, once you get it, don't lose it. And number 3, invest in things where you can never lose your capital. Now, the person watching this, she's a waitress and she's got 2 kids at home. She's like, I'm never gonna make 800. It's because you already gave up on the idea. Like you never said that's the target. And you keep thinking you gotta wait tables. And you quit already.
How many people are in debt in America?
40% of people that make $1 million a year still are living paycheck to paycheck.
40%?
40%. But that's not because of inflation. That's because they spent money they shouldn't have spent. They thought they were entitled to because they're millionaires.
They live above their means.
They live above their investments, not their means.
How can we shift the relationship to money that we have so we can have a better experience emotionally and spiritually about money?
Anything you're hiding, you're going to have problems with. The secret keeps you sick. First thing I look at every day is my money. I have a great relationship with my money.
I'm not just gonna think about it, I'm gonna be somebody today. I'm gonna grow into who I should be.
What I've done already is impossible.
From where you came from and all these things.
From where I came from, I should be dead. I should have been dead at 25 years old. Or in jail. Messed up forever. You know, instead I became this guy. And I mean, I'm grateful. And I don't know that I had any breaks. When people say, oh, you had luck, I'm like,
you grinded, right?
I've been grinding. And I'm proud of the grind. But I wanted to turn into something more than money. I'm gonna feel good about a lot of places I go to and a lot of people I meet. Because I made more contributions than I didn't. I gave more than I took.
Whatever industry you pick, if you outwork everybody, if you try to be a little smarter than everybody, if you try to be a better salesperson than everybody, if you try to be better prepared than everybody, you've got your best chance. Because if you don't do it and somebody else does, you know, I have the saying, work like someone's trying to take it all away from you. You know, I actually work like someone's spending 24 hours, working 24 hours to take it all away from you. And that's kind of the way I look at it.
What would you say is the #1 reason why people fail?
Lack of brains, lack of effort.
Lack of brains, lack of effort.
Yeah, they don't do the work. They don't learn, you know. When you walk in the room, when you start a business and you start to talk about somebody, you're never in a vacuum with no competition, you know, unless you're just extremely lucky. And if there's going to be competition, that means somebody else knows your business as well as you do when you get started. And if you walk into a competitive environment and they still know more about the business than you do and more about your customers, you're going to lose. But most people don't consider that. They don't do the work. They don't learn more about their industry. They don't know even about their business. I mean, and so you've got to put in the effort to know more about your industry than anybody else. And that's the brains part, and that's the effort part as well. Because look, if you're competing with me, you better know what you're doing, otherwise I'm gonna kick your ass, you know, and you're not gonna outwork me. And so, you know, the combination is usually what kills businesses early on more than anything.
You could, within a 5-10 minute interview, say, this dude's not gonna make it as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, I can typically tell, right? I can tell by their passion, I can tell by their focus, I can tell by their preparation. you know, there's a whole realm of things in any business. Here, you know, here's the business you're in, and here's 1,000 things that influence whether or not you're going to be successful. You know, through my experience in businesses, I can put myself in his position and say, okay, here are 900 of the 1,000 things he has to be aware of, and then go through and ask. And by how many of those or her issues they've been able to address already, that kind of gives me a sense of how hard they're willing to work. You know, and I can tell by the questions they ask me. So all I have to do is say, okay, what do you want to know? And, you know, when they start saying, what should I do?
They ask you.
Yeah, you know, and that's fine, right? And I want them to ask questions, but, you know, people like to say, you know, the only stupid questions are the ones you don't ask, and that's not right, right? Because the questions you ask tell whoever more about you than anything else you do. Because in particular, it tells me about your preparation. If you ask me questions about just basic things that you should have known and you should have down to a science, that's going to disqualify you almost more than anything. If you're not always learning, to this minute, if I'm not continuously learning, if I'm not just absorbing as much as I can absorb, someone else is going to kick my ass, right? So you talk about paranoia. The greatest source of your paranoia should be knowledge. If someone else knows more than you do, and if you're not learning, if you don't know how to learn, if you don't have a thirst for learning and acquiring information, you're SOL.
Do you think there needs to be a healthy level of paranoia?
Oh, absolutely.
There needs to be.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always say, you know, for every one of my businesses, I say, what would I do to kick my own ass? You're right. So whatever business you have, there's somebody trying to put you out of business. There's somebody trying to take a bite out of your business. And it's better for you to figure out how they're going to do it rather than they do it. And so, yeah, that's being paranoid. And so you have to be paranoid. You have to anticipate other people's next moves. And you can't ever, you know, downplay the competition. I was at a business plan competition this morning at a college, and they were kind of being dismissive of the competition. And so you can't ever do that. You know, they're out there trying to take you down, and they're not just going to sit still. And if you're good, really, really good, you're going to inspire them to work even harder, faster, better. And so you have to be, you know, very self-aware of what you're good at and what other people are good at. And, you know, a healthy dose of paranoia makes a big difference. Is very helpful.
Let's transition to a different subject with college. You went to IU, right? Now you got a lot of people that say, forget about school, you know, drop out of school.
They're idiots.
So you think they're idiots. Tell me why.
If you're going to have and run a business, if you don't understand accounting, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Can't you hire a guy that knows how to run
accounting? But then
accounting?
they still have to communicate to you. Your accountant might tell you you're profitable, but your cash is going down. You know, not understanding a breakdown. And when you don't,
you think you need college to learn that?
Yeah, I think you do, right? Because it may not, for some people, look, if you're so self-motivated that you can take an online course in accounting and teach yourself everything, you're way ahead of the game anyways. But most people aren't. I don't care if you go to a community college and take accounting and spend $99 for the class. Just, you know, spending the money forces you to be more obligated to do it. But accounting, finance, lesser extent marketing, sales if the school offers that. These are all that's the language of business. And so while it's possible to teach yourself these things and while it's possible to hire them, when you're starting your own company, you don't want to have to spend money hiring an accountant. Well, let me take that. If you've gone through all these classes, you probably don't have to hire a lawyer to incorporate, right? You can probably figure out yourself. And so your cost of opening up a business drops. But even more important than all that, that's the blocking and tackling. That's the language of business. You know, the thing I learned at Indiana that was more important than anything else, I learned how to learn. And learning became far more important to me because the one certainty in business is that it's always going to be changing.
How does one entrepreneur increase the speed in areas that they can increase? There's certain things you can't control.
Speed in what way?
Speed of growing your business.
All right.
So how fast can I grow it?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. You've got to know your own skill set, right? And you've got to know how that fits within your company's life cycle. You know, some companies are slow grind. And you just have to understand that, and you've just got to bide your time until it starts to click, and then grow with it quickly. You know, if you're trying to release a product that needs to be ubiquitous, you've got to go as fast as you can, and then, you know,
release a product, like a launch.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of people who will say, you know, perfection is the enemy of profitability, right? And that doesn't mean you have to wait till it's a perfect product. It really just depends on what the product is. It, you know, a barbershop, right? Is it an app? Is it a service? Is it a product? But the key is looking for the low-hanging fruit. What customers are willing to write you a check or commit to it, so that they're willing to integrate it into their daily lives or integrate it into their daily business. And so getting a commitment either through time or revenue is typically what I look for. And so if I can get a commitment, then I'm going to be able to learn. I'm going to see how they use it. Do they sustain usage? And then once I get the next one, hopefully it came a little bit faster than the first one. Then I can ask for referrals, and then the next one, and I just try to ramp it up. When I bought the Mavs, we had no season ticket holder base. And so literally it was a matter of just putting a list of former season ticket holders in a white pages back then, on my desk next to my phone and making phone calls.
You?
Yeah, me. Yeah, because if I'm not going to do it, how can I expect someone else to do it, right? So just get on the phone. Hey, this is Mark Cuban. I'm the new owner of the Dallas Mavericks. I'd like to invite you back for a game. It's not, though. This is my business.
But you can't get regular sales guys to sometimes make those calls once they get to a quarter. You're a guy that's a billionaire. You're making those calls.
But that's all, and that's fine and good, right? Because everybody's got their own goals, right? But still, I didn't want anybody at the Mavs to be able to say, well, he's not willing to do the work, right? There's, if I walk around, I'm picking up all the papers. I'm not saying go get that picked up. I'm like, okay, that's trash. I'm picking it up. But in terms of speed of growth, it's really, you got to get that first customer first. And then when you get that first, what did you learn? Reiterate, get that next customer. And then hopefully as you learn more and more through the process, then the next one comes by even faster. Alluding to it earlier about entrepreneurs being born or built, and I think I knew I was wired to be excited about business. How or why, I don't know, but and there's certain guys that have the genetics to jump out of the gym, right? There's certain guys, that when they golf, they have the muscle memory and the discipline. Dirk Nowitzki may not be the most talented guy in the NBA, but his discipline and his focus to do what's necessary to be successful, he's willing to do, and combine it with being 7 feet tall and being skilled, it makes him an amazing basketball player. So it's understanding what your skill set is, finding the right place to use those skills, and then going for it. Will that make you 250 grand? It depends if you pick the right industry. I started my first business when I was 12. I was buying and selling baseball cards, buying and selling stamps. Anything I could do to make money, I was hustling and trying to do. So I was into business, but I not so much where it was all my friends were into it with me, so they wouldn't know.
Baseball cards.
Yeah, baseball cards, you name it. I grew up in Pittsburgh. And so I would, probably even less than 12 years old, I would go out and buy a bunch of baseball cards that I collected, and I would package, I would say, okay, you're guaranteed to have a Pittsburgh Pirate in this package, and I would charge 3 times as much, and I'd set up on this park bench down in the park down in Scott Township where I grew up, and I'd have these little sales. And it was great. I made money, and it was, and I learned as much about business when I was 9, 10, and 12 as I learned any other time.
You hear all these, I'd say fake entrepreneurs or fake coaches. They don't actually have any real businesses. They're like, you got a 10x today, and you got a 5x. If you're not 5xing, you're failing. And the reality is when you set less ambitious goals for yourself, you can stick with them for longer because you're not burnt out, you're not tired. You can sustain. And that gives you the ability to create 10x opportunities because you're like, okay, cool, I'm not worried about making money in that, but I can go do things that potentially, be moonshots and really drive the company for the future.
Find someone who sits in a position that you want to be in. The fastest way to get to where you want to be, find someone that's already there and ask them for help. You would be amazed how many older, successful people want to help. So don't talk yourself out of asking for help. But also, one of my favorite ones is show me your friends and I'll show you your future. I see so many people surrounding themselves. See, your frequency is your neighborhood. And let me explain what that means is your frequency is created by your neighbors. And if you're sitting in the projects on a lawn chair drinking a Colt 45, you may have all the skills in the world, all the knowledge in the world, all the desire in the world. And when you turn to your buddy on the lawn chair drinking and you say, hey, can you help me? How many options, opportunities, and touches of favor do you think someone in your neighborhood is going to be able to give you? I'm telling you, frequency and vibration wise, surround yourself with the right people and the right ideas. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Surround yourself with people that are going to give you more options, more opportunities, and more touches of favor. Surround yourself with people that feed you. So many people are being bled. 80% of their time is around people that make them feel like crap. They're watching things that make them feel like crap. They're listening things that make them feel like crap. They're surrounding themselves with people that make themselves feel with crap. They're being bled all day long and wonder why they feel bled.
Well, it's never too late. It's better to start earlier on in life. The earlier you figure it out, the better off you are. But it can happen later in life. Now, I figured out at an early age that I wanted to write. I didn't know what I wanted to write, but I loved words and I loved writing. And if I didn't have that connection when I was 8 years old, all the way into high school and college, I would have been a lost soul. And I empathize with a lot of people who don't have that feeling when they're 8 or 18 or in their 20s. But I've tried to tell people everybody has it. You're just not listening to yourself. You've lost touch with who you are, the core of your being. You're on social media too much. You're listening to what other people are telling you. You're listening to what your parents told you should be doing in life. You're listening to what your friends think is cool. You're listening to what the culture is all about, the entertainment industry, etc. You gotta cut all that out. You gotta listen to yourself. And you gotta be a bit bold. And you have to embrace what makes you different. What makes you different, what makes you particularly strange, if you want to use another word, is your strength, is your source of power. You've lost touch with it. Let's go back and try and find it. And that's the whole problem. How do you find it? Well, it's a process. It takes time. To do anything in life takes time and hours and patience and work. I recommend starting a journal and such, and writing down some of the things that I think are important to you. So I like to tell people to go back to their earliest childhood memories of things that really excited them before they got mixed up with parents and teachers and all that, other people telling them stuff, If you are somebody who's word-oriented and you end up going into a field that's about math or about numbers, you're in for a lot of pain in life, right? So you've got to figure that kind of what I call primal connection to some kind of field. You have to look at the things that you love and the things that you hate.
A lot of people are chasing content creation, or they were chasing crypto last week, or they were chasing blogging years ago, and now AI everyone's chasing. And so what I'd recommend for other people out there, and I've been able to do this literally, and I've chosen so many trillion-dollar markets to be around, and a lot of my success is just because I'm in the market, and the market does well, but I'm curious about these things, number one. So I was curious about social networking, and I was like, oh, that's big. Because I got onto it and I was able to see wow, you can connect with the entire world, even though there wasn't really the entire world at that point. So curious, same with mint.com. I was like, man, money, I think worldwide it's pretty important. I think there's gonna be something, if you have a free money tool, that's gonna be big. Same thing then with Facebook games, that was gonna be big. Then I did payments for games, that was big. And then I did kind of a Groupon business, which became AppSumo, that was big. Then we built SumoMe.com, that was big, which is a software tool. So ideally, number one, you're curious. So I can talk about my crypto thing because I think that's kind of an interesting example of it. Number two, how do you get a part of it today, right now, not how? Don't worry that you don't have a website. Don't worry you don't have a big social media presence. But what can you take action on to put yourself in that space? So can you be in a community online? Can you geographically move? Can you start creating in that space? So I think people are curious maybe, and they can find it, but they don't necessarily try it and understand it, and they don't do anything about it. So even with crypto, got involved. I heard about it in 2012, didn't do anything. I thought it was stupid. And then in 2016, I had to buy an illegal NFL stream. That's how I got into crypto. And so I bought this illegal NFL stream on a website, seasonsforyou.com. And I saw the power of what this could be. And then I started buying at that point. And that's where it's now become a multi-million-dollar portfolio. And I think the biggest thing for everyone out there is, what are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's a billion-dollar opportunity. Same thing on what you're doing outside. Same thing what you're watching on content. And just being a little bit more curious and then taking action around that.
Yeah, more of those CEOs would respond to you than they would today. When you're young, because they were young and they know how important, they know that they would not be where they're at if they didn't have someone elevate them, and they wouldn't be where they're at unless they're elevating others. You need to elevate others to elevate yourself, but also you need others to elevate you to elevate you. It's amazing, and everyone, they get fooled by the closed mind. I tell people, life is so simple today because of the size, scope, and scale of access that we have. We don't have to write. You can DM them, you can email them, you can call them. This wasn't available when we were working for the Oilers or wherever. And why is that important? Because I teach kids, especially, just look for the open mind. How do you find an open mind? Smile at someone. If they smile back, they have an open mind. Tell them you like their clothes. Tell a woman you like their purse or their shoes. If they smile, they have an open mind. It takes 1,000 times the effort to convert or to transition or re-engineer a closed mind than an open mind. And remember this, everybody has an open mind some of the time. Some people, almost all the time. Some people, almost never. But if you catch someone who has a closed mind when it's open, it's really valuable. So qualify people by open minds. They have open hearts and open hands. And guess what? They surround themselves with people with open hearts, open hands, and open minds, which allows you to create two types of people in your neighborhood. People who help you and people that know someone that can help you. Nothing can help you more.
Think about in your own life and your own businesses, like what is the thing you're looking forward to and excited about? And it could even be small. Like one of my phrases I like is put it on the calendar. What's on the calendar? What are you looking forward to?
The vision, right? And so for your vision, we said we want to build a great sustaining company into the 21st century because we had just sold Razzler, and we actually kind of wanted to keep it going. They just made us an offer we couldn't refuse. We owed that to the shareholders. And then the mission is all about leadership, because the object of the game, particularly in Silicon Valley, is to be the category king. Because when you're the category king, you get 80% of the industry resources and 80% of market cap. So our mission was to create a category called business-to-business electronic commerce and to be the leader. And then the next thing under that is your values. So, right, integrity's there, courage, high ambition, accountability, respect, the basics. And then we had a set of team rules that kind of personify those values. And by the way, same team rules for all the companies. The first one is direct, open, and honest communication. In a word, the truth. Because I had seen General Motors, when you go through 15 levels, you know, I started at the lowest of the low, production floor, to the highest of the high, where I was a staff for the board of directors. I could see how that message would change, right? The second one is no idea is a bad idea. And then we added parentheses, unless the CEOs. So, because it's all about making a safe environment.
Sure.
And you can make a safe environment when you mock out the CEO. Plus it's fun. The third one is always raise the standard in everything we do, in our people, our processes, and our products. And if somebody can't keep up with that standard, you got to do something about it. Otherwise, you've automatically lowered your standard. Then the fourth one is we're a team first and functional specialist second. So you developers put your feet in the customer's shoes. You sales guys don't make commitments we can't keep. And then the fifth one is the most powerful one of all. And that is hire the best people, especially if they're better than us.
For 20 years, I was just so obsessed with creating money and getting money. And I was not really obsessed at all in enjoying life and enjoying the money. And that's something when COVID happened that 180'd my life. And I'm grateful for it. It was definitely unfortunate for a lot of people. I was just grateful that it brought up, okay, well, if this is not forever, how do we enjoy this life? And so a lot of my learnings and what I do in our channel is to inspire people to be able to do their own things in business journey. And that doesn't mean to be a millionaire. I will say with 100% certainty, being a millionaire is awesome. The ability to go to the grocery store and you're like, just give me the things I want, go to the supermarket and not worry paycheck to paycheck, not worry about it. Like I actually instill more like, okay, I should wait more to buy things. Let's delay that gratification instead of just getting everything I want. When I go to these billionaires, one of my favorite questions is, how do you enjoy money, but what do you regret about the money? And almost all of them, they will say they're either saying it or what they're actually saying is they regret not spending more time with their family. And only a very few were able to balance that. And that's something that stuck with me, where it's the reason I left San Francisco. I didn't want to talk about funding and employees and how big your company is. I don't care. I really, what I'm interested in is like, how good is your life? Like, how are you with yourself? Not even necessarily you have to be this donor person. I think that's one way of a great life. How are you to your partner? How are you to your parents? How are you to your friends? How are you to the people you work with? And I think money is very sensitive, and I think we're taught a lot about how to create it, but definitely there's much more there as well, how to enjoy it and different things that people enjoy. Like I enjoy watches and bicycles, and I enjoy having a nice house. I never did any of these things before because I was like, I should just keep saving and saving and saving. And with COVID, I was like, maybe let me enjoy a little bit in the areas I'm spending a lot of time. And those are the areas. And then watches was also just, how can I represent pride in myself? Like what I've accomplished in different areas. So, me and my partner are pregnant. She's pregnant. I did the easy work. And so I got a Rolex with me and 2 other buddies. I bought 3 Rolexes, Pepsis to honor that. And that's super cool that I can do that for us and for them. And money enables that. Would I be just as happy without it? Yeah. But I would say having money to be able to have a nicer house, be able to have a house, live in Spain without worrying about the money and these type of things, it makes life so much easier.
Went from owning 33 homes in San Diego alone to a rented house, rented furniture, a pregnant wife with 3 daughters under 10. What am I gonna do? And I gotta tell my mom she's moving. I have really messed this up. And in some respects, I was more equipped, but in others, it was like, okay, I already got the lessons, why are you punishing me? And when I laid there in bed that day of filing bankruptcy and keeping it secret, because I wasn't the person that I am today, I illuminate I am who I am. You're either gonna love me for who I am, but you're not gonna love me for who I'm not. Now, you can hate me for who I am, but you're not gonna love me for who I'm not. I'm gonna tell you the truth and illuminate to the best of my ability, spend minutes and moments outside of the truth, minutes and moments in ego-based consciousness. That's the secret sauce of what I do. But when I lied there in bed, it was another coincidence because tears were rolling down my face. I could not lift up my arms, right? It was harder almost because I knew the lessons. It wasn't like I was in that ignorant arrogance where I was in blame, shame, and justification. I was lying there being accountable, and that's hard. And at that time, accountability still was tied to what did I do to attract this to myself? What am I supposed to learn? It's evolved to what did I do to participate in it or the perception of it and what am I supposed to learn? But I remember, I wanted to get up. TV was on, almost like The Jacket. One of my favorite movies is Rocky. And so I'm lying there, completely crushed. And I turn it on and there's Rocky 1. The end of the movie's on, and it's that scene, the music's going, I'm crying, and Apollo Creed is just beating Rocky. And I don't know if you remember the scene, he's hanging, and then he gets to the ground, and Adrian's in the back, and he's sitting there, and he couldn't get up. 6, right? And Mickey's like, stay down, right? And everyone else, get up, and Rocky, and I'm sitting there, I'm down, and I'm watching him, and he looks up. I see it. He looks up. Somehow, the music going, and he gets back up, right? And then he pops Apollo in the ribs, and that round ends, the second to the last round. And the movie continues on to 8 more movies or whatever. I think to myself, what if he didn't get up? What if that movie ended that he was just crushed? He had learned all the lessons. Remember, he went through all the different lessons in the movie that made us root for him, love him. But that one moment of bankruptcy, he had a decision to make. If I can look up beyond everybody else, I'm gonna get up. And because he got up, we all know what happened in the other 8 movies. I wanted to see what was gonna happen in the other 8 movies for me.
We never hear any stories about people that start in the middle and go straight down, okay? And I went straight down and then down and then down.
I'd like to believe that I could look in the mirror and tell myself I'm great and then I'd feel it. But if you're destroying yourself the other 23 hours and 56 minutes, the self-talk isn't gonna matter. Rich people do not value money the way poor people do. I think a lot of us, if we grew up poor, we believe it takes money to make money. Our parents told us that. Maybe a grandparent or the neighbor or somebody said that to us because that was how they justified not having their breakthrough and getting trapped. They're like, the reason I didn't get out. And we know everybody's got an excuse in their lifetime. Everybody uses them at some point in their lifetime to trap themselves. This idea that it's not true, it's a myth.
What do all these successful people have in common? You know, whether it was the mattress dealer, the car dealer, the furniture dealer, or Elon Musk, they spend money, man. You know, they spend money. They spend a lot of money. And they don't worry about money the way I was worried about it. They use money, you know, they used it. They didn't save it. They didn't hoard money. And the greatest companies on this planet today, the ones that have just like, some of these companies have lost money for 25 years. Look at Amazon.
Yeah.
Reinvest, 1.7 million employees. When I started, I remember I looked at Ernst Young. I said, I have a buddy that worked at Ernst Young. I said, how many employees you got? He's like, 240,000.
Wow.
And I'm worried about 10 people. What am I thinking? So when I quit studying individuals and started studying people, everything shifted for me. What is this big company doing? Because that also relieved me of being competitive with this guy, Pete, and started saying, okay, I'm gonna go do what Coca-Cola does. That's when I bought the plane.
Right. Really?
Yeah.
How old were you when you bought the plane?
I was 50, maybe 55, the first one. I bought it because I studied what Coca-Cola was doing. They bought planes. I said, why are they buying planes? Oh, then I learned how they write them off. And then I learned how they trade them every 3 years.
That's crazy.
So notice every 3 years, I'm trading a plane. I'm getting rid of it, replacing it with another one. But what are they using it for? They don't use it for pleasure. They're not using it for Instagram photos. Right. They're using it to go and set up headquarters in other countries.
Wow.
You know, so that's when I wrote, if you're not first, you're last, because when I started studying these companies, I'm like, Coca-Cola's everywhere. You can't go any place and not see Coca-Cola. I was like this big. I was always thinking about what can I keep? And they were thinking about how many shells can we get on? How many eyeballs can we see? So that's when it all clicked for me.
I'm a guy that grew up in the middle class. All I do is do drugs all day long. I don't learn a damn thing, nothing. One night, there's a deal that goes down in my house. Me and another buddy are partying. They call it partying. It's never a party. It's always bad. I open the door to walk this dude out, and this other guy jumps up on this step, puts a .45 caliber pistol right in my face, literally right here in my face. Jammed the barrel right into my head. You can see the scar right here. Okay? Then he took the back of it and started hammering both sides of my head, underneath the mouth, on top of the head, put 76 stitches in my head and face. And I went to the hospital. My mom was called to the hospital. My mom had no idea who I was. She's like, but where's my son? 28 days later, I was in a treatment center for drug addiction. And I finally put my first couple of days not using drugs together. But more importantly than not doing something, I started something that day. I'm going to become somebody. I want a great life. I want to be the guy that has freedom. I went into work the next day. The people that I worked for were gracious enough to let me keep that job. I took that addiction for drugs and literally threw it into my work.
I really started learning from in the beginning. What you learn is you're learning from the master. You know, and so I'm duplicating and emulating. Then at some point you cross over and you become the master. If you're a guy like me, I'm always looking to improve everything. I'm looking for another little tweak, another little twist. You and I did that with the podcast. I'm looking for that next thing all the time, how to make something just a little better, a little faster. And so at some point, I kept studying this guy until I was able. In the beginning, I didn't challenge anything. I used, I duplicated, I got
let me
results.
follow the script that I learned. Let me use exactly what he's telling me to do. Do it.
Whatever I heard, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna make that work. That's gonna be my stable datum. And once I could trust that, then I could build on top of it. I never butted anything. I got a better way in the beginning. Dude, until I got the results, over and over, consistent results, then I started teaching it to other people, then I started learning angles. And then I basically created my own style and I actually almost threw away what I had learned and created this new thing called information-assisted selling.
Information-assisted selling.
Where I started leading with what people wanted rather than this guy kind of hid. It was the old school, hide it. Don't avoid the price, bring it up later. And that's where I really started accelerating everything, giving people the information up front, allowing you to understand how much this watch or ring was or car was. Before you even asked about it, I'd tell you it's $58,000.
Right away. So you wouldn't wait till the very end. You'd say,
yeah, so
everything.
Look, if you're shopping for a car or a watch or a ring or a coaching program, whatever it is, You probably want to know how much it is. I know I would. This particular product's $58,000. It would require about $2,500 down. Your payments would be about $550 a month. Let's be sure you're on the right product. You see, I got the value proposition, the money. I got you thinking about money right now. I want you thinking about money, so that when I show the product, you can start making sense of it. Because I can't convince you that it's worth it. You have to convince you.
They gave me a little pill and said, you need to take this little pill every day. I said, dude, I came here to get off pills, okay? And before I left, the counselor grabbed me and said, hey, if you don't give up your ideas of getting rich, because in 28 days, you share your whole life, all your dreams, your goals, everything. They're trying to get to what happened. Give up all your ideas of writing books. Give up your ideas of helping people all over the world. Just help the alcoholic and the drug addict, and that'll be enough. Give up any ideas of being rich and famous, being free and financially wealthy. Give it up, okay? Because if you need to be satisfied with one thing, not using drugs every day. So I went home with my little pill, sat down that night, looked at that little pill on the little table that I had, and remembered what that dude was telling me. Give up all these ideas. Looked at that pill. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna show this guy that I'm not powerless, not unmanageable. I can control my life. I'm gonna get rich. And so if I could just stay busy, okay, if I could just have a place to work every day and something to do and somebody to call and somebody to be in front of, that was my big fear. My big fear was that little white pill. I threw those in the trash that night. Never would use another one again. And I just made a decision that day not to quit, not to be powerless, not to be unmanageable, but to be somebody. And I've been doing that since I was 25. Every day waking up, today I'm gonna be somebody. I'm not just gonna think about it, I'm gonna be somebody today. I'm gonna grow into who I should be.
We're not interested in people that want to be on the board because they want to make $200,000 or $300,000 a year, for 10% of their time. And we're not interested in the ones for whom it's a prestige item, and who want to go and check boxes or that sort of thing. We want our shareholders to walk in the shoes, our directors to walk in the shoes of shareholders. We want them to care a lot about the business, and we want to be smart enough so that they know enough about business that they know what they should get involved in and what they shouldn't get involved in.
When we buy businesses, we don't have managers to put in them. I mean, we're not buying them that way. We don't have a lot of MBAs around the office that we're, thank God. Yeah. We need management with the businesses that we buy. 3 times out of 4 or thereabouts, the manager is the owner, and we have to decide in that time when we meet them whether they love the business or love money. And we're not making a moral judgment. Charlie may, but I'm not making a moral judgment about whether it's better to love the business or love money, but it's very important for me to know which of the two is the primary motivator with them.
It's no secret that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are 2 of the most legendary investors to have existed. Just in 2023, the iconic duo brought the cash pile they store at Berkshire Hathaway to a whopping $157.2 billion. What can these legends of industry teach us? In their 2023 Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting, Warren and Charlie shared invaluable lessons and timeless wisdom.
I feel good. I don't know what's going to happen that day. Maybe nothing will happen, but maybe something will happen. And if nothing else, I'll roll some T-bills or something. But I work with the greatest group of people you can imagine. I mean, we like each other, and nobody is after anybody else's job or anything of the sort. It's ideal working conditions, and it's 5 minutes from my home or thereabouts. So I haven't spent my life commuting. I just can't imagine having anything better. And Berkshire has been paying. Nobody else in the United States, no individual, no corporation would ever pay any income tax, Social Security tax, gift tax, estate tax, anything else. 1,000 like Berkshire Hathaway would produce the revenue that's being produced by the federal government, that's being derived under the present tax code from everybody in the United States. And I don't feel badly about that, and I'd love to get it to what it's 1/500th or something of the sort done. We know how to do it. And we actually came from a money printing economy in World War II, which was required And we suffered significant inflation, the price level. I mean, there are a million ways to judge it, but it's maybe 10 times what it was then or something like that. Well, that's getting close to the edge of where you don't want to hold dollars anymore. You want to hold something else. You want to hold real estate. You want to hold an interest in a business. There's a lot of good. Your best defense is your own earning power. If you're the best doctor in town, if you're the best lawyer in town, if you're the best teacher in town, or even if you're the 10th best, you're going to make a good living. You know, the economy is productive, and you will succeed with your talents, but you won't succeed by hoarding dollars. You'll just succeed by the fact that your value to the community, which is a rich community overall, is sustained. And so the best investment is always in yourself. You're lucky if you're in the United States. If you go around the world, you don't have a lot of choices in some places, but you should write your obituary and then try and figure out how to live up to it. You know, that's something you get wiser on as you go along. The business mistakes, you just want to make sure you don't make any mistakes that take you out of the game or come close to taking you out of your game. You should never have a night when you're worried about investing. I mean, assuming you have any money to invest at all, and you should spend a little bit less than you earn. And you can spend a little bit more than you earn, and then you've got debt, and the chances are you'll never get out of debt. I'll make an exception in terms of a mortgage on your house, but credit card debt, and we're in the credit card business big time, and the world will stay in the credit card business. But why get behind the game? And if you're effectively paying 12 or 14 or whatever percent you're paying on a credit card, you know, you're saying I'm going to earn more than 12 or 14% of money. And if you can do that, come to Berkshire Hathaway. Tom Murphy, the first time I met him, said two things to me. He said, you can always tell someone to go to hell tomorrow. Well, that was great advice then. And think of what great advice it is when you sit down at a computer and screw your life up forever by telling somebody to go to hell or something else in 30 seconds and you can't erase it. And you don't need to vilify anybody to make your point on subjects of discussion, and then they give you another general piece of advice. I've never known anybody that was basically kind that died without friends, and I've known plenty of people with money that died without friends, including their family. I've seen a few people, including Tom Murphy Sr. I never saw him. I watched him for 50 years. I never saw him do an unkind act. I didn't see him do very many stupid acts either. I mean, it wasn't that he was non-discriminating. He just decided that there was no reason to do it. And wow, what a difference that makes in life. Charlie?
Well, it's so simple to spend less than you earn and invest shrewdly and avoid toxic people and toxic activities, and try and keep learning all your life, et cetera, and do a lot of deferred gratification because you prefer life that way. And if you do all those things, you are almost certain to succeed. And if you don't, you're going to need a lot of luck. And you don't want to need a lot of luck. You want to go into a game where you're very likely to win without having any unusual luck.
I'd add one more thought, too. You need to know how people can manipulate other people, and you need to resist the temptation to do it yourself.
Oh, yes, the toxic people who are trying to fool you or lie to you, who aren't reliable in meeting their commitments. The great lesson of life is get them the hell out of your life.
Yeah.
And do it fast.
We've done various deals various ways. The best way to do it is just write people a check and get the stock. But we did that with TTI, but you can't always make the same deal. If we like the business well enough and the people well enough, we will tailor it differently. But our preference is to write a check and own the whole place and keep the management in place. So we are in the perfect sort of game, and we both enjoy it, and we have a lot of fun together, and we don't have to do anything we don't really believe in doing. I mean, we are not dictated to by any group, and so we get to follow our own. We get to forge our own destiny, and in a sense, forge the own principles by which we can run the company, and that's a huge luxury in life. And we don't want to be president of any other company in the world or CEO or anything else where we have to conform to certain things that we really don't want to conform to.
The lessons from Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett continue to guide us towards smarter, more principled investing. Remember, it's not just about making money. It's about making informed, ethical, and sustainable choices that stand the test of time. With the passing of Charlie, the next year will be one to watch as Warren navigates the industry on his own. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with fellow investors. Until next time, happy investing.
Are you ready to dive into the world of investing but are not sure where to start? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Today, we're unlocking the secrets to successful investing with insights straight from the master himself, Robert Kiyosaki. We will dive into 4 tips from Kiyosaki to help investors get started.
So the reason the rich don't pay taxes is because there's 3 types of income. They'll never teach you this in school. The fake teachers will never. There's 3 types of income. Okay, number 1 type of income is earned income. That's earned income. It's when you work for money. It's earned. So that earned income shows up here. So these are the guys that pay tax. So when all the guys are screaming tax the rich, well, you can't tax them because they don't have jobs.
That's absolutely
It's kind of funny, isn't it? We're going to tax the rich. Oh yeah, good luck, you know. And the second type of income is portfolio income. And portfolio income is from flipping houses, or you buy a stock for like $10, you sell it for $20. That's portfolio income. Okay? I don't do that. Trump doesn't do that. So most guys who are flipping houses and all that, buying stocks and flipping you're getting this type of income. So this income is about 20% today. Some of that here. But the income that the rich work for is called passive income. Passive income is also known as cash flow. That's the name of our game, cash flow. And that income is income that's flowing from here to here. It bypasses taxes.
What some people may not know is that there are different types of incomes you can earn. As Robert explains, the 3 types are earned income, portfolio income, and passive income. Earned income is the money you make from working a job or running a business. It's your salary, hourly wages, or profits from your own company. Basically, it's the income you earn by trading your time for money. Portfolio income comes from investments like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. When you buy shares in a company and the value goes up, that increase is your portfolio income. It's money your money makes for you by growing over time. Finally, there is passive income. This is the money you earn with little to no ongoing effort. Think rental income from properties, royalties from books or music, or earnings from a business you don't actively manage. It's the ultimate goal for financial freedom. By understanding all 3 of these incomes, it can help you increase your cash flow and allow you to grow your investments.
And what's happening for most people today is, they follow that age-old mantra, go to school. What do you learn about money in school? Nothing. Get a job. Well, jobs are disappearing. Not only that, is that with artificial intelligence and G5 coming, more jobs are going to get wiped out. Plus, with driverless cars, more jobs are getting wiped out. So why would you go to school to get a job? And then work hard for money, but pay taxes. Taxes are going to keep going up, sports fans. They have to. Somebody's going to pay off this massive mountain of debt stacking up all over the world. And the only way they pay off debt is via taxes. And then they tell you to get out of debt. Oh, God. Debt is money. Please understand me. In 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money became debt. So the rich know how to use debt to get rich. And that's what I do. My friend Donald Trump, I know some of you hate the guy, more power to you, you know. But we use debt as money. And other guys will tell you get out of debt. Well, you choose. The rich use debt to get rich, and the poor and middle class get wiped out because they're in debt. That's because of the lack of financial education. And they tell you to invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. The key word in there is invest for the long term. Why would you invest for the long term when they're printing trillions of dollars and ZIRP, zero interest rate policy, they're paying you nothing for your money?
Why is financial education so important? Well, think of it like this. You wouldn't try to drive a car without learning how, right? The same goes for managing your money. Financial education helps you understand how to make your money work for you, rather than the other way around. With the right knowledge, you can make informed decisions, avoid common financial pitfalls, and create a secure future for yourself and your family. It's all about gaining control and confidence in your financial life. Remember, getting financially educated isn't something you do once and forget about. It's an ongoing process. The more you learn, the more confident you'll become in making smart financial decisions.
The first way you understand risk is you look in the mirror. It's who's looking back at you. You're the risk, not the investment. For example, I invest in a lot of real estate and say, oh, real estate is so risky, so I think I'll buy ETFs. So you play it safe, but you'll learn more by investing in real estate, right? Because you'll make more mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's the difference there. So it's not real estate that's risky, it's you're risky.
Yes, all investments carry some risk, but not all risks are created equal. There are ways to manage and even minimize these risks. Imagine you have all your money in one stock and it suddenly tanks. Scary, right? But if you spread your money across different types of investments, like stocks, bonds, real estate, and mutual funds, you reduce the impact of any single investment's poor performance. Another important thing to understand is that investing is like planting a tree. You don't expect it to grow overnight. Historically, the market has shown to recover from downturns and grow over the long term. So, if you're in it for the long haul, you're likely to see positive returns.
So the reason I say only lazy people use their own money is because it takes much more intelligence to raise capital. And so I've never been able, ever since my rich dad, since a little boy, my rich dad forbade me from ever saying, I can't afford it. He says, figure out how you can afford it. How can you do something? Figure out how you can do something. So over my lifetime, most of the projects I've started, I've never had any money. I like not having money because it forces me to think. I get creative. I have to educate myself. I have to talk to rich guys. How'd you do this? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? And what has happened to me, I just turned 72, I've never needed money.
Investment opportunities can pop up at any time. Whether it's a promising stock, a real estate deal, or a new business venture. Having access to capital means you can seize these opportunities when they arise. Raising capital is also essential for scaling up your investments. If you've started small and seen success, additional funds can help you expand your investment portfolio and increase your potential returns. Some ways you can raise capital is by getting loans, starting a partnership with another person or company, investing some of your personal savings, or even reinvesting your returns. Before making any investment decisions, it's important to do your own research and consider seeking advice from a trained financial professional. We hope you found this video informative and inspiring as you embark on your investing journey. Remember, with the right knowledge and mindset, investing can be a powerful tool for building wealth and securing your financial future. What was your favorite tip from today's video? Make sure to comment below and like and subscribe to the channel to keep up with our latest videos.
Our lives don't get better by chance. They get better by change. Change is one of the necessary laws of life. Remember this: action and adaptability create opportunity. Adapt and overcome, and watch everything change before your eyes. Adaptability isn't just some secret for survival. It is the power to build the future. Adaptability is the capacity to be modified for a new purpose, to be moved this way and still punch through targets and reach my goals and be everything I've been called to be, but I've got to adapt to the times. Adaptability requires movement. Adaptability requires growth. Adaptability requires wisdom and knowledge and understanding and revelation and awareness. We've got to be able to recognize when we're outdated, when we need an upgrade, when we've got to go to that next level, and I can't be embarrassed about it. Adaptability is not buckling under pressure. Adaptability is understanding that in order for me to have this lifestyle that I see in my head, I'm going to have to raise my standards. This is an adjustment. This is a modification that in times past, this version of me was good enough, but it only got me where I am. And in order for me to go to that next level, something inside of me has to change. So when you face storm, when you face adversity, when you face trial, when you face tribulation, in the eye of the storm, in the middle, in the core of your devastation, when you are faced with opposition, that's when you raise the heat. You don't change your message, you change your methodology. Are you understanding me? Adaptability is not buckling under pressure. Adaptability is not losing your moral compass. Adaptability is raising your voice. And so the harder life hits me, the harder I'm going to fight, the harder I'm going to believe, the harder I'm going to keep pushing, I'm going to keep going, I will persevere, and I'm going to build resilience. And so the harder life hits, the stronger I get. You've got problem-solving skill, you've got a resilience, you have a determination, you have a measure of commitment that nobody in the room has because you've been able to adapt. And for many of us, we are in the halftime of our destiny. And if you're going to win, you are going to have to make the adjustments, the necessary modifications to have your future. When I become more flexible, more agile, more adaptable, another thing that happens is that we build our inner resilience. And this isn't just about honing in on your problem-solving skills, but resilience literally changes your brain. It changes your operating systems. It shifts your behavior. Resilience empowers you to build new habits. It's not running from your programming. It's upgrading. It's taking it to the next level. The necessary growth strategies, necessary modification, personality adjustment, attitude upgrades, the wise adapt themselves to the circumstances, like water molds itself to the pitcher. To understand the revelation of adaptability is to realize that life is lived on levels. I've got angles, I've got approaches, that destiny is in the details. It's how I see this thing. It's how I can adjust my thinking. It's how I can upgrade my inner software. At some point, you got to sit back and think to yourself, you know what? I've been here too long. I've thought like this too long. I've hurt too long. I've been fractured long enough. I've been depressed long enough. You know what? I've been here too long. It's time for me to go. We all have to get here where we realize we have not adapted to the current times. And this is not a departure from authenticity. This is not losing yourself. This is finding your next level. The question is, are you willing to adapt? Adaptability is the bridge to the future. I need to be able to adapt cognitively. I got to be able to adapt emotionally, my personality, my behavior, my language, my thinking. I've got to be able to adapt. And it is only when I'm willing to accept this reality that I can have my future. When I become more flexible, more agile, more adaptable, another thing that happens is that we build our inner resilience. And this isn't just about honing in on your problem-solving skills, but resilience literally changes your brain. It shifts your behavior. It's time to break through. You've lost long enough. You've been in your learning season long enough. It's time to apply what you've learned. Adaptability is not buckling under pressure. Adaptability is not losing your moral compass. Adaptability is raising your voice. You got to start thinking about the future. You've got to start thinking about sustainability. You got to start thinking about future generations. Your perspective, how you see this thing, how you approach this thing, the angles that you take, the approaches, the mentalities, just one little tweak in the game, and there is a future for your family. And this is the power of understanding that if I can make a few tweaks, if I can make a few adjustments, if I can see this thing just a hair differently, winner by a hair. Have you ever heard that? There are champions that win by a hair because they made an adjustment. There are golf players and basketball players and football players and soccer players and fighters and warriors and NASCAR drivers and champions and lecturers and teachers and students, movie directors and artists and people all over the globe who have made adjustments, who have adapted to a circumstance, who have adapted, who have modified and tweaked their game and beat on their craft and got the trophy. This is why there's power in mentorship, because a mentor will show you something you didn't see. A coach will pull something out of you that you never knew was there. The ability to adapt, to make a tweak, to make an adjustment. It's the group of employees that's been called to work 2 more hours. It's the team that's been called to win a championship in the snow or rain or sleet, or the weather's changed, or now all of a sudden the crowd is no longer cheering your name. Can you adapt? This is the question. This is the golden ticket. Everybody wants to win, and everybody wants new zip codes and area codes, and everybody wants impact and influence. But if I don't have adaptability, I'll never have my future.